We only need to get a good look at a human face for a few minutes. For that face, that particular pattern of features, to be permanently recorded somewhere in our brains. Now, one of the problems about drawing from life is that a person sitting for a length of time tends to lapse into a rather flat expression. And if we want to look at expressions, the rather better ones, the ones that can't be held for so long, we have to resort to photographs. Now, here's a photograph of a rather nice smile. The teeth are showing, but it's not a really strong one, but I'd call that just a medium open-mouthed smile. The most important thing, first of all, is to get the angle of the mouth. Even though we're not going to draw the whole head, you've still got to have a feeling for the way that mouth is set in the face. And I'm making little marks for the corners of the mouth initially. And the next thing that happens with an open mouth smile is that the cheeks bunch up a little bit. And I'm indicating those. It's a bit difficult to ignore the nose absolutely, to have the disembodied Cheshire Cat smile. You just have to have something of the rest of the face. And indeed, I will go up to the eyes, because to show that the eyes are part of the smile. Even the slightest smile tend to close the eyes a little. So I will actually do my little triangle again. So I know that the pupils are going to go somewhere like that. And that gives us this relationship, these spaces between. Now I'll return to the mouth. Now, a thing to avoid when drawing teeth is having a series of separate teeth divided by quite dark lines. It may be how you conceive that they are, but in fact, if you look more carefully, generally the lines between a good set of teeth are quite pale, and if you draw black lines there, it's going to look like rotten teeth. So, but how do you differentiate them? The best way, initially, is to look at, if it's visible, how the arcs of the gum as they intersect with the teeth. Quite sharply seen in this photograph. And a very definite pattern. The two central teeth have got a low radius arch, and then the eye tooth here is quite sharp. Now that in itself already suggests the actual individual shape of the teeth. If you then take a reddy brown colour and look at the bottom edge of this whole arch, dental arch, and make sure that the definition of the tooth at the bottom matches the definition at the top, like so. Here's the far eye tooth and the mouth, the interior of the mouth beyond it. That matches the top arch. Then again, this defines the two next teeth. There we go, and there's the other canine. Now each of these edges are defining the teeth as they come up against the bottom lip or as they come up against the gum. As a result, I've made no divisions between the teeth. It may be that you can put a little bit of a tone to show the actual arching shape. Come to the bottom lip. There we have a mouth. The teeth are not in any way defined by lines between them, and yet we know where they are. Now let's move up a little, because part of another component of the smile, as I said, is the clenching, the tightening of the eyes as a result of the clenching of the cheek muscle. Let's move up via the nose. And I'd marked where I thought the centres of the eye, the pupils were. Just don't take it sacrosanct, just see if they are in more or less the same positions. Okay. Now this is typical of a of a fairly low resolution smile, so that you get a slight closing of the eyes, not from the top but from the bottom. That is, as I said, it's the cheek, the rounding of the cheek, which is beginning to do that, which is pushing up the lower eyelid. So here you have this nice bunching of the cheek. The eyeball is going to be somewhere here, and the upper lid is comparatively unaffected by the action of the cheek, the cheek bunching. Just putting a little darkening in the pupil. I'm leaving a gap between the definition of the lower lid and the actual eyeball itself. Now that gap is the thickness of the lower eyelid. Whenever you're drawing one eye and you move to the other one, check that the line between them is going to be in conformity with the line you've already established in the mouth. I would say that one's just a little bit low, so this is the time to correct it. Don't rub out, just correct it. Right, that seems to be somewhere in the right place. The other thing you have to note is the distance between them. But we're talking about the smile, so it wouldn't matter too much if this wasn't spot on. It's the action, the way that the eye is crunched up by the lower lid, which is important. So you have to move from one to the other. It often happens. The eyebrow, of course, is part of the expression. Some people's eyebrows slope downwards when they smile. Some are unchanged. It's very individual. So it's not something you can really predict. Got to move this a little. And that's it. The essential components of the smile are there. The pulled out sides of the mouth, not upwards, not necessarily upwards. Smiles don't always result in a smiley mouth, the so-called smiley mouth, pulled up at the corners, but they're pulled outwards, and the upper lip exposes the upper teeth. Only now do we come to the outer edge of the face. If you've got this lot right, this relationship in the middle right, you can become quite bold and strong about the rest of the things you put down, but you have to concentrate and get those in the right position.